Thanks
Thanks for listening
to the
to the
Boots
Boots Frost
podcast.
Podcast.
Hey, here we are at episode 13 of the Boots Off podcast. I am Mike Lahrman. I hope you're doing well wherever you are in the world and in your life. I really hope you enjoy this episode as well. It's eye-opening, it's informative. Bryan Jacobs is the founder of Vets to Success and Reveille Meals. He joined the Navy as a corpsman and endured 2 deployments at the very start of the war in Iraq back in 2003. His transition story is one of challenge, loss, and resilience. He's turned it all into a personal mission to help veterans who have fallen on tough times. Let's get to it now with Bryan Jacobs. How long have you been out of the military?
Oh man, I've been out for a while now, since 2005 actually. Right at the end of 2005, November 25th was actually my last day. And but I was technically out like November 12th, so I had 2 weeks on the books to take as like end of service, and so that's my time. I went in August of '99, got out in 2005 November, so just over 6 years.
Yes, we've been out really 15 years now.
Yeah, it's crazy. Time flies, man. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, and in that 15 years, you've done a lot, but
oof, ton. It's exhausting, but it's actually kind of amazing because of what I've gone through to get a lot done.
For sure. And so to get to what you've gone through, what was it that led you into the military to begin with?
Yeah, I just come from a long line of service, to be honest with you. Every male in my family has served their country. And I can trace it back on Ancestry.com up until the Civil War, and which is really unique. And then the more I go back, there's service and all these type of things from wherever. So it's just lineage, and there's this, to be honest with you, it's also, you get a call to serve, there's some pride associated, especially if you come from a military household, that you see the achievements on the wall, you see the ribbons, you see you see this sense of like honor, and the men, they walk different, they act different, they talk different. So there was just this, what is that? And then finally there was a dying wish from a grandfather that was, I'm not gonna live long enough to see you go through life, but I want to live long enough to see you graduate high school, and just promise me you're going to go in the military and get some organization, get out of here, and go be something in the world.
Yeah, and these are your grandfathers who have, they've been through it themselves.
Yeah, both of them World War II guys, both World War II, Vietnam, and my one grandfather was he was a Seabee, and the other granddaddy, as I called him, was he was a chef in the Navy.
Okay, so a chef. Well, that's really awesome to have that. I can tell you just wanted to honor that tradition, really.
Yeah. And my father did 20. So it was just like, all right, I guess we're doing this.
And had you considered anything else?
Actually, yeah. So I didn't want to go in the military at first. I actually fought it because I wanted to be the first male in my family to go to college, and I still have that honor. Actually, I still am the first male to go to college and the first male to graduate and have a degree. And I just wanted something different because I unfortunately, I didn't get to see my father really strive post-military service. I saw him get out and kind of flounder around. And so I got to see the downside of 20 years of service, which was, I got out and here I was a Navy SEAL at one time, and then I was a Master Arms, the drug dog and the best drug dog handler in the Navy. And then I get out and I have to go work construction and build seawalls. Though I've got over 16 years experience with U.S. Customs, and I've done more narcotics investigations than anybody, and biggest drug bust in Navy history, and it was kind of like this bitter lesson that was being taught. But then there was my granddaddy he was a multimillionaire, but he had built wealth. He had built, he owned things, he owned property, he owned all kinds of stuff, but you didn't know that because he was so humble. And he was a giver, and everybody knew him because of those traits and characteristics. And so I got two really different lessons. And then my uncle Danny, I lived with them, and he was somebody who suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. He was a door gunner in Vietnam in Chinook. And so, tough job. And, I used to really try to, I was seeing things I didn't understand, and he used to shake in his sleep. And I didn't understand that until I went overseas myself in Iraq, and I had to fly in the back of 47s, and they did this, they shook. And it hit me, and because I'm in the war zone, I'm in the back of this helicopter, and I'm like, man, I just had like a come to Jesus moment in the middle of combat, going, wow, he slept in these things, he lived in these things, he never left. And that was a hard thing to kind of come to terms with in the middle of a combat theater. Other uncles were grunts in Vietnam. Other uncles were Army. One other uncle was a CB, and another one Army. So it was it was just a lot of lessons. And for some reason, even at a young age, I had a lot of common sense. And I mean, most military kids do, which is kind of unique if you ask me. We have a lot of common sense because we have to learn to adapt and overcome, new duty stations, moving around a lot, and always trying to fit back in to society. There is never a standard that you just, this cul-de-sac kid who, just shows up. No, it's every 3 years, you got to go make new friends. Every 3 years, you got to fit back in. Every 3 years, you got to speak a new language sometimes. Like it's not it's not an easy go as a military brat.
No, not at all. I was one myself. My dad did 22 years in the Air Force, and I mean, we lived Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, but then also Naples, Italy, Belgium. I lived in Naples twice, and it was great to go back. I would love to go back to Italy again, but being a kid, you don't have a choice in any of that.
Nope.
So
not at all.
It's really a good thing, though. I feel like
it's
growing up that way.
I wouldn't have changed it for the world. I mean, I'm so much more. It was because of that culture that really has helped me not live in I don't want to say fear, but in this piece of like not being educated culturally, I'll say, where you think you don't know about the rest of the world, and you think, and I mean this in a nice way, where you think the rest of the world is so much better off than we are, and that life is so much better in these other countries. And in fact, you learn to respect the United States on a whole new level when you lived outside of the United States.
Yeah. And so with your dad being in the Navy, did that influence your decision to, of which branch you went into?
No, actually, it's actually a great story. I tried to join the Air Force, and this recruiter was out to lunch for 3 days. And I went back every day, and finally the Navy recruiter just happened to be there, and he jumped in. He's like, hey, I see you really want to join the military. I said, no, I really want to join the Air Force. And he was like, why the Air Force? And I was like, well, my granddaddy said the Air Force or the Coast Guard is where I should go, but why? And I was like, well, because, he was in the Navy, my dad was in the Navy. He goes, see, look at that tradition. You should be in the Navy. And of course it was right away, he took it away from me, which I didn't realize was a selling tactic. And it was like, hey, well, we don't know if you can make it in the Navy. We got to see if you qualify. And so you chuckle, and because that's the gotcha.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean qualify? Well, I could do anything. Now you're challenging, young 18-year-old kid. What are you talking about? I can't qualify, And he was like, well, we'll find out, and I'm like, okay, fine, we'll find out. Then I was done. It was hook, line, and sinker, and my whole life, though, I mean, I played war. I played war in the woods. I was I was building forts and building prisoner camps and playing combat and doing this and doing that. My younger brother and I, So it was almost like it's what you were bred to do.
And so what were you going into the Navy to do? Did you go in undesignated? Did you have a field?
It's funny is I only qualified for 2 jobs at the time. I've probably qualified for way more than that, but of course it's the needs of the military, right? And so they put 2 pieces of paper down in front of me. One was for nuclear technician, which was counting, nuke stuff. I still don't know what they do, but I do know they get a $100,000 reenlistment bonus, and they get E5 out of A school, and schools in Charleston, South Carolina, which is in the middle of like 4 all-girl colleges. Probably wouldn't have been a bad time, The second choice was Navy Corpsman, actually. And Navy Corpsman, I had never ever thought about doing anything in the medical field, though. I was a giver. I was somebody who just cared about people. And it sounded like a good fit. I mean, to me, what made it sound really good is the way they sold it, which was, hey, a good looking guy like you, go to the hospitals, young doctors, hot nurses running around. You'd fit in real good there. You'd have a good time. And at the bottom of the paper, like a little, 4x4 picture, was a thing that said Fleet Marine Force on it, FMF, and it had an AAV on it. And I didn't know what an AAV was at the time, but I could just tell you it was a piece of equipment, and it had Marines running out the back of it. And I was like, well, what's this? FMF? They're like, oh, that's optional. So and unfortunately, the option was a little bit different than what I thought it was. And I went to Navy boot camp, did my thing. I tried out for buds and made bud quals, but then to become a SEAL, you can't go in designated now.
And what is buds?
Buds, basic underwater demolition school. So to qualify to even go out to Coronado, where you do Hell Week and you do all these buds in dock and all this stuff to make it into the teams, it basically is the best of the best. My dad was a SEAL, and he was a SEAL for his first enlistment. And it wasn't something I had ever just chosen to do. Like, I didn't go, I'm going to go be a SEAL. Originally, I wanted to be a Top Gun aviator, but then I figured out you had to have a degree. I'm like, that's kind of going to get in the way of me trying to go be Top Gun. But I had no clue about life at the time. I had no idea what the processes were. So I go in and get out the pool, do our thing, and they say, well, you have to drop your rate in order to, go to buds. And I was like, well, I'm not going to do that, because one thing my dad did tell me was, don't go in undesignated, because that's the worst thing you can do, because you're at the will of the Navy and you could be picking up cigarette butts for your enlistment, which is not cool. Or you could be scraping paint off the side of a ship while it's underway, which is probably not the best thing in the world. And I said, well, no, I'm not doing that, because you can still be a corpsman, get your but little did I know that Corps school was the second hardest school in the military to graduate from at the time. So, I showed up Corps school, literally the first 5 minutes I was there. Chief walks in with an HM2 night, and the Chief noon. I'll never forget these 2 gentlemen. One looked like a cartoon character. The other one looked like he's probably seen combat, and he's got this look on his face. And come to find out, he was a recon corpsman. I had no clue what that even meant at the time. And they start out by saying the average lifespan of a Navy corpsman in combat is 30 seconds after the first shot is fired. 99% of the males in his class are going to Fleet Marine Force. Who wants to leave? What? I'm in a class of 77 other individuals at the time, and I'm looking around. You could just see the dumbfoundedness on every dude's face. So we're like, what the hell did we just sign up for?
Yeah.
And FMF is it's not an option. It's something that it's very prideful. You got to qualify for. And it basically boiled down to the fact that, I raised my hand. I said, and he was like, you want to leave? And I said, no, Chief. I said, I heard it was option. He goes, I just gave your option to leave. Oh.
Yep.
So you just this is my fate.
So you did just raise your hand and volunteer in a way.
Yeah, well, volunteered. I mean, not only that, but there's a lot of pride to be a Navy corpsman. And we started with 77, graduated with 22 out of that class. Out of that 22, 17 of us went to Field Medical Service School. Out of that 17, 7 graduated. So
So that school must have been, I mean, tough as nails.
It is ridiculous. You
Is it
have
the
to.
physicality of the school? Is it the
It's everything.
mental knowledge? I mean,
It's everything. Everything. You every week is something different, and every week is a mental test, emotional strength test, physical test. They weed you out. And I mean, it's one of the only schools I would say in the Navy other than Buds. Buds is the hardest school to graduate from. Navy Corpsman's the second. And so it's really mind blowing, to be honest with you. And then you leave there after you graduate Corps school, and you go to Field Medical Service School, which is Marine Corps boot camp, basically. And you end up back being screamed at, yelled at. You have inspections again. Now you're getting new uniforms. Now you have your head shaved a different way after you've grown your hair back, which is ridiculous if you ask me. And now you have to learn all new rank structure. You have to shine boots differently. You have to learn to operate weapons differently. You have to learn about to field medical care. You have to learn about 9 lines. You have to worry about, I mean, the list just goes on and on and on and on. And that's just the beginning stages of school. I mean, you're in the field. You have to learn how to, you do land nav, you do CASEVAC nav, you do, weapons ranges, you're doing live fire training, you're doing it all. And I'm like, what the hell did I join? And it was because it was not on that piece of paper.
right, for sure. And so how long was it until your first deployment once you left school and got to your assignment?
Well, it's funny. So I went out for recon and made recon, but ended up breaking a toe joint. And so they were like, cool, we're going to send you down to Naval Hospital Beaufort, and you can rest up. And then I still would have to class up and try out again, because though I made it, I would have to reassess. So even though you qualled, broken, you would have to requal unbroken. It was not a cool thing. So I went down to Naval Hospital Beaufort, and I would say I was there 9 months, 6 to 9 months. And this airplane ran into a tower, and I was looking up at it, and I saw it, and I'm like, that's not supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm watching, and the second one hits, and the red phone rings. The red phone doesn't ring ever. And it was basically anybody who is in a Fleet Marine Force billet or is qualified as an operator. You were called and you're told to pack everything you have and get your barracks room ready for clear out, and you're heading out. No clue where, no clue what, but this is what's happening. And 9/11 happens to be my mother's birthday at the same time. And, so she's calling me and it's like, where are you going? Because she knew. And the crazy thing is my younger brother had just joined the military. He joined the Marine Corps, and he was actually at Parris Island at the time, which is 10 minutes from where I was stationed. And so both of us, he's graduating, Marine Corps boot camp. I get orders to 2nd Marine Division. And so we know that whatever's happening is happening. And there was just this, something changed in the air after that. And you just had this feeling that things were going to get worse before they got better. And so immediately went up to 2nd Marine Division, got up there probably beginning of 2002, right after 9/11, and ended up going to 2nd Marine Division, 2nd Line Reconnaissance Battalion, and that was starting hanging out with the Green Boys, and understood, got into the I guess you can say the way of life in 2nd Marine Division. It's a completely different, I don't know, it's just different. There's not really words. I mean, the outside world does not need to exist technically. You're on a base that you never need to leave, and it's almost kind of became a safe haven, and it became a place of, like, I don't know, you had a different type of relationship, and you were amongst, you had a lot of pride because you're amongst a different set of warriors. and it was really cool. I was a scout with the Second Alarm Reconnaissance, and we did our our pack up, geared up when Iraq was acting crazy, and staged the LOD in 2003. And I was with Task Force Tarawa, and there goes history going down in the history books.
Yeah, so you actually went through a couple or more than a couple deployments then, after that first invasion into Iraq. So how much time were you first anticipating staying in the Navy?
Military?
Yes.
And that's the thing, is the hard part. I was never in the Navy.
Right. Yeah. I'm not sure how to say that really.
Don't worry. I just call it the redhead bastard of the military. It's like I'm that redheaded stepchild that no one loves until they need him. And
so were you technically were you in the Marines then?
That's the hard thing, right? There's two sides to it, right? So half of me was and half of me wasn't. I still had a chief petty officer, a CPO, or a senior chief petty officer. We still had a master chief we reported to. We still had a medical corps that we reported with. But then the first sergeant or gunnery sergeant or whomever, or master guns, whoever was in charge of the company, or if I was assigned to it really depends. Sometimes the Navy had say-so, sometimes it didn't. Most times the Marine Corps had most of the say-so, though I couldn't be meritoriously ranked up. I could be given accommodations. I could be given meritorious mass, which is, when you say mass in the Navy, it's a bad thing, but in mass, if you go to mass in the Marine Corps, it's a good thing, because they've oh, you did good, Doc, high five, I'm like, yes. But it means, the hard part is that the Marine Corps isn't allowed to rank us up, which I think is FUBAR. But because I think that if you're Marine Corps regs and you're wearing an FMF pin, which is your Fleet Marine Force designator, that you've had to earn, which is understanding Marine Corps tactics, history, you've had to qualify in the pistol range or rifle range, sometimes as a stay operator, sometimes with heavy weapons, sometimes doing 81 millimeter mortars. You've had to work and be a Marine, yet you don't get to have, because if a Marine goes down, who's going to pick up that rifle? A Navy corpsman technically is as a non-combatant, but on the front lines, it's either you or them, and it's never going to be us, and it's always going to be them. So if a Marine goes down, you're a lifesaver, but then you also have to defend your casualty. You have to defend your brothers. So we had to learn to do everything that Marines did. So it was a tough thing, because you never knew who you reported to. But then there were some cool things to it, because we had sick call, and I always had to be at BAS. So you miss out on PT sometimes, but you PT'd harder than the Marines did, because you had to carry their rucks, you had to carry their extra load sometimes, you had to carry their weapons sometimes. I mean, there's countless times where we would have young Marines going down on marches and humps, and I would pick up their gear and ruck it. And I'm already carrying 120 pounds on my back, and including my medical gear. And the Marines are rucking 70, and I'm adding an extra 70 to my ruck. But that's what you have to be a doc.
Yeah, but did you plan on spending, maybe a full 20 years or so in?
Oh, I did. I planned on doing 20 at that time because of my job, and I loved it. I loved everything about it. It wasn't until 2005 and during my second tour that the rules of engagement changed in Iraq, and it was no longer war. It was like playing Bomb Frogger. It was not a cool time. It was a different feeling. I mean, in combat in 2003, you felt different. You could defend yourself. In 2005, there was no defense. There was no, I don't know, it was just different. And there was nothing about it that you felt safe about. Even though you were amongst brothers, you knew that the fear was on a different level.
Well, and that certainly would have, changed the course of your life. Because I'm looking here, you've now gotten a bachelor's degree and 2 master's degrees,
Yeah.
and those aren't degrees that you achieved when you were serving.
No, not at all.
No.
It was actually a funny story. We were in during a time where, like NKO, what they call it, Navy Knowledge Online, which this is the hard part. So the Navy still regulated my advancement, and so we were told it was actually right before my '05 deployment. We had to show up. I mean, we're in digis, we're ready to go, we're packed out, and we're told that while we're in Iraq, we have to complete our Navy Knowledge Online continuing education and core curriculum classes.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I mean, there's no internet running, no landline. I mean, what the hell? I mean,
Yeah.
like, I'm
Go over to the morale tent and take care of that right
yeah,
away.
yeah. I'll get over there when they give me timeouts. Hold on, let me get right over there. I mean, don't get me wrong. There were some bases over there that like Disneyland. Like Al Assad was Disneyland. Taqadum, Balad, from what I understood. These were really great bases to be at. I was not at a great base. I was out in Korean Village, out in the middle of the Anbar province, and it was down what they called MSR Tampa, which is known as IED Alley, which was a very not so fun spot to hang out. It was not like, oh, hey, let's go on spring break. No, that's not where you spent spring break. It was definitely that was a life-changing deployment.
And so that was which
Second
deployment
tour.
was that? Your second
That
one?
was my second. Yeah.
And so how would that have changed your life? Probably,
I didn't see.
Many ways, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was losing Marines and I was losing people for no reason at this time. I mean, we were an operational peacekeeping force. We were not in combat. There was missions, and those missions were chasing taillights through the desert, because we're trying to stop like VVIDs in truckloads of arms or drugs or narcotics, passing borders from Syria. There was no real mission, and the problem is there was no real enemy either, because you never knew who they were, and they could be anybody at that time. That was the hard part, because now you at least in the 2003 they were wearing uniforms for the most part. Now we're fighting Mujahideen, we're fighting Ba'athist extremists, we're fighting jihadists, we're fighting Syrian rebels, we're fighting Kurdish extremists, Chechnyan rebels. You're fighting skinny Somalians, you're fighting Iranians, you're fighting everybody. And the problem is you go, and I hate to say this in this way, but they all look alike to us. Mm-hmm. You have no clue. In fact, interpreters that were supposedly interpreters were marking bases off. You're getting moored on a regular basis. There was no, you were a target 24/7. It was just like shooting fish in a barrel sometimes. And I was just like, this is not war. 2003 was war. You could defend yourself. You could fight. 05 was ride around and hopefully it's not your time.
So you deployed in 05, you went through that, and then you say you left in 2005.
Yeah.
Was that at your own will, or was that deployment an influence on your decision?
It wasn't. What was the influence on my decision was what we kind of talked about earlier, where the Navy had a say-so in my career. Unfortunately, being part of the Marine Corps unit, I had people out of Millington, Tennessee, that were sitting back home chilling, trying to write me a billet orders for my next command. And when you're a field medical, Fleet Marine Force corpsman, that's what you are. It's almost like it's impossible to leave Fleet Marine Force. And I mean, at the same time, you don't necessarily want to leave the FMF, but you also need a little bit of time to regroup. Your mind is different. You don't know what to think or feel, and you're emotionally numb. You've changed because you've seen a lot of things have changed you. And I was asking for orders just to a shore command for 3 years. Send me to a, I don't know, to some kind of embassy duty, something. Let me just recoup, let me get my mind right. And I'm fighting with these. I had master chiefs. I'm not gonna lie, I was a really good corpsman. My name was known. I had done a lot of stupid things in 2003, but it's just who you were. I was recognized for conduct going above and beyond, and I earned my name, and it wasn't because I was trying to prove anything. It's just that's who you are. That's what corpsmen do. That's why there's more Corpsman Medal of Honor winners than there is any other service, because that's who we are. We're there to we risk ours to save theirs. And 2005 was not like that at all. And the hard part is Iraq was a different war than Afghanistan. And, I'm sitting here and I'm arguing with people who will never see combat. They sit behind a desk. They are telling me how my career is going to go. And they left me little to no choice. They tried to assign me orders to not Little Creek, but Norfolk Naval Clinic. And I was just like, there's no way I'm not on a detach. And so I call up the detailer and I said, hey, or not detailer, but the Norfolk Naval Clinic. And I said, hey, I'm slated to come there in orders. Am I on a platform? Which means, am I deployable? So like, hold up, let me check. And they're like, yeah, you're on 2nd Marine Division. I was like, well, what do you mean? Yeah, you're ready to go right back out of here as soon as you get here. And I said, so I'm leaving 2nd Marine Division to go check into a clinic, keep my stuff packed, and then go back to 2nd Marine Division to a new unit with new Marines, to learn a new style of everything, to have to build trust, rapport, retrain with these guys, go back to, CAX or Mount Talon or whatever cold weather training that we go to, and maybe end up in Afghanistan this time. I'm like, this makes no sense.
So is that a typical career path then?
No, it's not. And that's the hard part, is in the Navy, it's, 3 years on shore command, 3 years in sea command. Or you can designate to stay on a ship. Don't get me wrong. Look, everybody serves, and I'm gonna say this in the nicest way. There's people who have served their country, and then there's combat veterans.
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean that's probably gonna offend some people, but look, if I was serving my country and I got to enjoy my service and I go on 9-month, love boat cruises, hell yeah, good times. It's a different standard. And, there's a lot of corpsmen, they get out because there's just, it's a level of, you're very high speed, and it's I don't know how to explain it. There's just a part of it that you're just, I don't even understand, can't explain to the rest of the military, because we're such a hybrid.
And so when a corpsman gets out, what kind of planning did you have when you were separating? What are you going into?
Well, that's the problem, is that, so I was still in a combat zone at the time. So I get out, I leave Iraq November 5th. I'm out of the Corps by November 12th.
So we got a week.
A week. No decompression, no downtime. It was, hey, thanks for your service. Okay. I guess, this just happened. It was a blink. It was, I show up at TAPS and I'm getting overwhelmed hearing like the real world. But then there's this part of me going, I made it in here. I can make it out there. I'll figure it out. The hard part is that none of my skill sets, even my OEMS, my operators, emergency medical school, which is our PIG school, very considerably close to 18 Delta, was none of it transferred over. Nothing. None of it was transfer skill sets at the time. This was the only medical job I qualified to get when I got out was phlebotomist. And I was horrible at it because I hated working in that environment. As much as I was a field operator, it was the same time. It was like I didn't do well in four white walls and pushing buttons. It was just not something I did well. But then I also didn't understand PTSD. I didn't understand any of the things I was going through because none of it was talked about. When I got in the military, they're like, "Oh, yeah, you've probably seen some stuff, huh?" Yeah, a couple things. And they're like, "Well, we'll just keep you evaluated." And yeah, that was kind of like my physical for the VA.
That's it.
That's it. And it's like, hey, we wish you the best. And I went through quite a transition. I mean, I think I've had every job selling something you can sell, and then jobs that you would think would be the easiest jobs to have, and just couldn't hold them down. And I had no clue why.
You didn't know why. And looking back now, are you able to figure out
Completely.
What was it?
It was me. It was 100% me. It was the way I thought. The problem is you don't turn off what's been turned on, and it'll never technically go off. You just have to learn how to adapt and overcome with it, and you have to learn how to coexist, and you have to learn that the world's not black and white, and you have to learn that everybody's opinion needs to be heard, and you have to respect those things. And though you don't want to hear them, you can't live in this mystical world for your whole life. It just does not exist. These bases where people can return to and be amongst peers who think the same way. That's what they are. They're safe havens, like I said, because you're like, oh, I fit in. But then when the gates closed and you're not welcome anymore, then you have to coexist. You have to make choices. And unfortunately, I spent the first couple years out of the military making really dumb choices and having too much pride, not thinking about being helped and not saying I had a problem. And it made me homeless, actually.
So you were homeless as in?
Homeless.
Living out on the streets.
Yeah.
For how long was that?
It was not too long. It was like 2.5, 3 months. And it was long enough to know that I was in a bad place. I'll say that.
Yeah.
And I was self-medicating. I was doing everything that you shouldn't be doing. I was listening to people that were homeless as well. And I was actually living outside the Hampton Roads VA, which is right there in Hampton Roads, Virginia, right across the Bay Bridge Tunnel. I was living right there underneath it. Never went to the VA. Never asked for help. Never got seen there, not once. And I just remember, I remember hearing a voice. And it was kind of like my grandfather would tell me. It was like, I don't know if someone walked by me and said it, and I still don't know, but I knew I heard a voice. I don't know if the voice was in my head, but it was, hey, son, you need to get your life together because no one else will for you. And that stuck in such a deep place. So
how does one go from spending a few months on the streets in front of the VA, hearing that voice, and then being, as I'll use the word successful, you can have your own definition of successful, but I see your education and your entrepreneurial sense as a success. So how do you get from point A to B, C, D, wherever you are?
Resilience, perseverance, and discipline, and a little bit of vision, and realizing that you have all the ability in the world to be whatever you want to be.
Because now you've got the nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
and this Reveille Meals that I want to hear about.
Yeah.
So when did that come along?
So the nonprofit was born actually out of I lost my younger brother to veteran suicide Memorial Day weekend, 2014, and it was not expected. Though Kevin had a lot of issues with PTSD, he suffered. We both had a lot of issues. Kevin was homeless, just like I was. We both did the invasion in 2003 together. He went back in 2004. I went back in 2005. We both got out in 2005. He became a professional couch surfer, and I became, a mobile home driver is what I say, living out of my car. And it was all of that were lessons in disguise, and the processes that I had to go through to get myself out of this. It was mind over matter. It was quit thinking like that, quit acting like this, quit having behaviors like this. And who do you want to be like? Find things and people that you want to be like, not become, but be like. And what are their habits? How do they talk? How do they live their days? What type of life do they have? And then looking back at all the things I had to go through, understanding, through Vets to Success, I've, created, a lot of psychological concepts, but though these are things I've had to do to myself, not things that were taught. I don't have a background in psychology at all, but I was my own patient. I was my own study. And so was my brother in a degree. And it turned into, retraining behaviors, retraining habits, retraining thought processes, retraining daily activities, not being around people who brought you to a negative spot or who influenced you to a negative area. There was all these things that have gone into this nonprofit now. And then just the fact that food saved me, because when I heard that voice originally, I decided to go back to something I loved, which was culinary. And I went and signed up at culinary school, homeless, and just said, I'm going to do this. And just made a decision right there that it's, this mindset of just having, I'm going to do this, it's all or nothing, and I'm going to give it hell. And I did. And because I decided that I was going to go all in on something, all these other opportunities started to kind of progress. And when I lost Kevin, I had a lot of passion in my life. I knew how to cook. I was very blessed in the skill set, but no purpose. And when he passed, it gave me purpose, which is where Vets to Success is born out of, is helping veterans find passion and purpose through food and brew programs. And now this is what we've been doing for about 3 years. Obviously, COVID's put a little bit of a damper in that, but it's something that I hold near dear to my heart. We've had over 44 veterans come through the program, and we've been able to impact 44, personal lives and countless families now.
So what's the process for getting involved with, you said it's Vets to Success?
Yeah, Vets to Success. There's two sides of it. We cater and focus towards homeless, displaced, and second chance veterans, which was everything my brother and I both were in some ways, in shape and form. Kevin unfortunately found some law issues. I never did, but I did find homelessness and displacement. And Kevin definitely found all three as well. So it was these things that I said, here's a community of, service members or warriors that have no clue who they are and don't know how to get back. And they don't know how to come back home. And I said, I've got to do something. If food has done this to me, maybe it could save a few others. And to get involved, you qualify with one of those three identities. And we focus working with veterans in vet court, with Salvation Army, veterans who are going through detox, veterans who are in halfway houses, veterans who are in the system who are coming out that have not committed serious violent crimes. So we don't work with pedophiles or rapists or murderers, obviously. So we don't work in that area at all. But those who petty larceny, burglary, they keep making dumb mistakes, And some of them, my brother, severe PTSD, he was a Humvee driver. I mean, he had some situations where he did some stupid things in the vehicle, but he was blacked out and thought he was back in Iraq. And so, but these are the type of crimes they're being charged with. You're breaking the law here, but there you're not. There you're surviving, but that's in your mindset. So we work with all sorts of the dull stars, as I say. They need a little extra elbow grease. And we help them find a passion and purpose through culinary, baking arts, brewing arts, or agriculture. We've had a hydroponic farm that we were operating at one time, which we'll get back to. But culinary seems to be one of the greatest passions that veterans are finding.
And so you're able to take probably a lot of the challenges that you experienced and turn that around so that others are able to turn it around as well.
Exactly. Formulated something called the recipe of success, which is we all are basically our favorite dishes to eat. We start off by asking them to pick a favorite dish, and then they have to tell me about all the ingredients in the dish and why all those ingredients are important. And then we have them write out all their personal ingredients down, what makes them great, but then write down all the things that doesn't make them great. And we talk about the fact that, in that recipe, if they had bad ingredients in that recipe, would it be the same? Would it taste the same? Would it look the same? And they know it wouldn't. Yet they all have an identity crisis. They want to look one way to the world, yet they're being seen this way because they have all these things they need to work on. So we start to take their strengths and we sell them. We make them feel great about them. We build upon them, and we start to help them tackle the problems. Now, the problem is with that is that these are usually great big issues, like I have anger issues. Okay, well, what's the root of the anger issue? We start to break it down that way. So the point is, and I'll ask you, we'll just say eggs. Do you eat eggs?
Yes.
Okay, how many steps does it take for you to have scrambled eggs?
Just a few steps.
Right.
Really?
So that's right, and that's the situation that we all look at all these problems the same way. It's just a few steps, I'm going to solve it. But how did the egg get to you?
It's a little more complicated.
Exactly. Where did this egg come from?
Mm-hmm.
Who raised that chicken? Who fed that chicken? That egg had to be hatched. It had to hatch from another chicken. So there's all these other underlying things that had to happen for you to have this situation, right? And it's the same way with our problems. So we micronize them to such small little increments that they're able to accomplish things. And because when you simplify problems and the fact that, it's a quick fix, it's never a fix because you're not solving the small steps in the problem. So we help them break down the small problems and accomplish little goals for big changes. And so what we start to do is replace their bad ingredients with high quality ingredients. And then their recipe starts to come together and they start to be displayed to the world the way they want to be seen. So we help them understand that. And as they're learning culinary skill sets, because they all learn classical French skill sets, we teach them why it's important to have the best products. We reinforce these type of trainings. And then we also help them kind of start to see themselves differently. On day one, we have them come in and they all have to go look in the mirror. And then they have to they have to write down what they see. And every one of them, I hear the same thing. I see pain, I see tired, I see, anger, or I see confusion. I see someone who's broken. I hear all these things. And I said, okay, great. I said, now, at the end of training, we do the same thing. But now I said, I want you to go back in the mirror and look again, but I want you to tell me what you want to become. I want you to start to look forward. I want you to, because to be a chef, you can't think about an egg as an egg. You have to think of it, what's going to become all the time. An egg's not just an egg to a chef. An egg it's a creme brulee. It's a open-faced burger. It's all these different pieces, but you have to have vision. So we start to work on this vision technique by allowing them to create alter egos. And every day they have to keep a diary of their alter ego and how great this alter ego is living, and how easy they accomplish things, and how they get to talk about this person. And eventually they get tired of this person living that life. They want to be it. They start to live these pieces. They start to live, and they're working on these little ingredients that they need to replace at the same time. And they don't even know it, but they're setting their own standards through the process.
So they're sort of evolving as they go. Yeah.
Completely.
Into that alter ego.
Exactly. But that alter ego is who they want to be, because that's who the vision they wrote down. They want to be seen as a loving father, a great husband, a hard worker. They want to own a home and have a dog and a white picket fence and a happy lady to come home to every night. You know, this is the things they see themselves to be. And so we practice this, visualization, we practice meditation, we practice all these other internal pieces, and even some of it becomes very spiritual. I don't preach to them. I'm a God follower myself, but I don't preach them. I just set the standard. And most of them find faith in the process because they realize they have to start to believe in themselves. And you have to have faith to believe in something you can't touch.
So how does this play into or lead into Reveille Meals?
Everything. So
they are connected?
Way connected. One can't exist without the other, if you ask me, because I'm not the type of business leader who's, look, money is important, but the abundance of what wealth creates, what's more important to me. It creates change. It creates impact. It creates an opportunity to spread your message. It creates opportunity to impact communities that need change. And what Reveille Meals has become is this piece to where during the process of success, a lot of people want to volunteer, but one of the biggest issues with veterans is that there's a lot of handouts, not a lot of hand ups. And, people will sit back and take until you cut them off. With That's Success, it's all about hand ups. There is no handouts. There's nothing free about the program. Maybe the clothes they get, it's no cost to the veteran, but there's a cost in time, there's a cost in give back, and there's a cost in the time they put into each other. With Reveille Meals, it is the chance for the community to make a difference just by eating. We all have lifestyle standards, and we live in a society that's built on the go. And most people want to live a healthier lifestyle and have the opportunity to go and get things done and live a certain standard without having to worry about time commitments to cookery. So what we've done is we've taken this idea where we can hire the guys from Vet the Chef who've graduated into Reveille Meals. As we grow and we have more clientele coming in, we're able to make a difference just by eating. So now jobs are being created, continual holistic care is being provided through Vets of Success. That abundance of working with your brothers and sisters is there, and you feel more responsible to a new unit and new fire team. And the community not only gets a guarantee of quality meals, but they also get a guarantee of knowing that they're making a difference in life just by doing what they need to do in the first place. And so Reveille coexists with the fact that Vet the Chef exists. And not to mention, there's a other side of what Reveille Meals is, which is a very kind of a scientific approach, which is I'm a very big Buddhist medicine, you are what you eat mindset as a chef. And it's one of these things that I truly believe in. But there's so many avenues, which is what the agricultural program would be about, which the baking program is using, holistic approaches to baking. All these things coexist. All the training that the veterans get are from a classical French perspective, which is a lot of my mastery training is from France and Scandinavia. And so it's very important to me that they understand where the process of food comes from, because as people, we should be eating the most natural process of where food gets to us, not going, eating mangoes out of, Latin America. We should be eating mangoes out of Florida if you live in Florida. I'm a very big proponent of, we talk about allergies, we talk about illnesses, there's things in not only that, but nutritional density. We don't realize that we've stripped the lands because we're reusing the same piece of ground to grow the same thing. We're just stripping nutritional density from the earth and we're not replacing it, or we're re-enriching it with a man-made enrichment process. And then we go, well, I really eat really healthy, but I have cancer. I don't understand. Where did I go wrong? Well, the process is wrong. And this is where the hydroponic farms would come in eventually. Being able to use, natural mineralization, natural vitamins back into the water. And there's an idea I've been floating around with a little while, no pun intended there, I guess. But it has a serious impact where it allows jobs to be created, but it also allows for a repurpose, reuse, and I guess you can say more of a re-resurrection of like abandoned real estate. And right now during COVID, we've seen an extreme, impact to the retail industry. Kmart's are closing, old grocery stores are closing, and these abandoned opportunities are sitting there where we could be implementing indoor farms. We could be feeding communities at a greater level, at a cheaper level, making food more affordable, that's quality. So that is going to come down the line. But then also a quality of food that is getting to the customer. Most people don't understand cookery. They overcook everything they do, which and then you leach out the quality of the nutritional density that you should be getting in. So you don't understand that you eat healthy doing this, but you feel the internal vibrations you get from all this quality of standard. With having the background I do, I understand cookery from a scientific level. Because it's super important to me. I'm geek out on this, and we do all our own fermentations. I do my own sourdoughs from scratch. Literally live bacteria, all this type of stuff is super important to good gut biome, good mindset, brain fog. I don't use sugars. If I do, it's, brown sugar, which is a very natural sugar, not a refined sugar like granulated. And I'm very meticulous. I use honeys, I use local products like that, or even more plant-based like stevia or monk fruit now. So very in tune with what should be going into the body from a most natural process that I can provide. But the hard thing is to understand, and I think you and I can say this, there's no such thing as, especially in the medical industry, there's no one pill that fixes everything, correct?
Right, absolutely.
So with that being said, the goal of Reveille is to create an awakening in people's lives by getting their DNA done, to understand their food allergies, to understand their food, the proprietary food history and their ethnicity, to where their expressive gene therapy tells you what you should be eating. It'll eliminate a ton of the crap that you're putting in your bodies. And then you go, wow, I feel really balanced. My hormones are rocking on all 4 cylinders over here, or all 8, depending on how fast you go. But what it allows us to do as a company is to be able to give you custom designed meals that will help you stay balanced. But you're able to sway off. You're able to get your hot wings and beers and whatever, but you can come back and then you can start to disease fight. I really, truly feel that there's a lot of hidden agendas in big pharmacy. I feel like there's a lot of money to be made versus actually curing things. And, just being exposed to the natural medicine community, especially living overseas in Europe and understanding what actually happens there, where I never saw a regular doctor. I saw an osteopath who was all about vibrations and was like, you need to do this, this, and this, and you're deficient in this. I can tell because of the color of your nails and the eyes, and you have this going on, you should take this vitamin. And I did, and I felt amazing. I didn't take ibuprofen. I didn't take Tylenol. Right. I didn't take all this crap, but I come back to the States and I'm getting headaches again, and I'm getting all these other issues. And then I go, it's what I'm eating. It's my diet. It's something that's not right about it. And we have to be able to start to make that difference. And it starts with what we put in our bodies. And it starts from the simplest thing of understanding why we cook things, the way we cook them. But the problem is most people don't have the time to do that. They don't understand it. That's not their job. That's not what they care to understand. And unfortunately, that's the downfall of mankind in general, is we have too many other things to do other than to invest into our bodies. We buy all these other things and we invest into all these other things in life, from Gucci to Prada to, the best coats, the best cars, but we don't put the best food in our system. And Reveille is going to be there to do that.
Because you're talking about one of the things you've said before is that food unlocks the potential of who you become. And
Yeah.
so I'm definitely picking up that the foods that we eat are essentially preventative medicine, you know.
Yeah. It
Um,
is. And it has to be. We should be more, and we live in such a reactive society. That's the hard part. Everything that happens to us in life is reactive. What if you took a proactive approach to your health, a proactive approach to your emotional health, your mental health, your general, the general way you treat people was proactive in a kind way, not a reactive in a negative way. Like, I mean, simple facts, like you see a blinker on, let somebody in. You know, it's simple, kind acts like that could make someone's day. Or you can scream at them for them cutting you off. You know, then you create this emotional response in yourself that creates this hormonal response that you don't even know, and you're fueling it over there with sugar from your Coke. And you're like, I don't know why I get these headaches. I don't know why I overreact, and I don't know why I'm an emotional beast. I got a good place to start.
yeah, for sure. And you're talking about creating jobs as well. So
Oh yeah,
you're taking from vets to success and
yep,
bringing them right into prepare
Reveille,
meals.
yep.
That's
We're
incredible
prepare
work.
meals, yeah, prepare meals, become delivery drivers, prep cooks. I mean, there's so many jobs to be fulfilled once we get to uh, get the engine roaring a little louder, because there's going to be sections, going to be very, and the kitchen's militant in general, so it's going to be very divided. And the idea of really there's other opportunities to create kind of entrepreneurs, kind of like an internal franchise model where you have leaders that stick out amongst peers, and you give them part ownership of the company in that area, and you let them live that leadership role, but you also reward them for their hard work. And I truly believe that it's teamwork. Teamwork is what makes the difference. It's not individuals. You know, you can have one star soccer player, but he gets hurt, then the whole team goes down. That's not the way it should work. You should have people that constantly lift people up and inspire people. And you need leadership for those things. But it's like when good people are around you, you want to become those good people. So you raise your own standard. We're just raising better people together.
And now, so you're in the Tampa area, correct?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
is this
Tampa, Sarasota area.
and so is this something that's only local to Tampa at the moment
At the
and
moment.
planning to grow?
Yep. At the moment. Already looking at Texas. Texas is the next piece, just because of population density and looking at the big cities. Austin looks like it's going to be first on the map that I head to. Plus, like-minded individuals exist over there. But there's no, who knows? Atlanta could come next. Orlando will probably be on the board in Florida before we head over to Texas. But the goal is to really be able to make a difference in communities through food, but let people be a part of that journey too and be able to benefit at the same time. The hard part with Vets to Success is I'm not into human trafficking and selling veterans, so not my thing. My goal is to reintegrate veterans back into the world to make the world a better place and provide standards. And especially in my industry as culinarians and cooks and chefs, you have to have discipline, you have to have organization, you have to have all the things to help run a smooth kitchen, and that militant mindset works. And if I can continue to make a difference in that world, continue to uplift my industry, and then also be able to make an impact in the world through what I love to do, that's the goal.
Coming from your field as a Navy corpsman, you really had a lot of skills, but you just didn't know, and you weren't really given the guidance on how to implement them on the
Right.
outside. So what kind of advice would you give to somebody who's in that position, trying to figure out what they can do when they leave?
Man, looking back on my journey, is that there is no bad ideas. There's only going to be learning experiences, because you need to figure out what you want to be when you grow up. And the hard part is that in the military, unless you choose to stay in, then it's a hard part, because I see guys who've been in 20 years who get out and have no identity anymore. But you need to start planning in advance. You need to have a 6-month plan before you even get out, if you choose to get out. And if you don't have a plan, then, as they say, if you don't start, if you don't want to, it's like, if you fail to plan on failing.
Mm-hmm.
And those words could not be truer when it comes to getting out of the military. And I hate to say it, it's going to take practice. You're not going to get it right on the first go. And I hate to say this, the grass is not greener on the other side. There's a lot of hard work that's about to be handed to you, but go all in. Take no prisoners, but go all in on who you are. Take the time to refocus yourself emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and dedicate yourself to finding a purpose to serve again, because that's who we are. We're service members. We didn't join the military just because we had no options. We chose to serve, and this is who we are. We're people who like to serve. So find those things in life where you can provide a service back to the world, and you're going to live a more purposeful, giving, and happy life, more successful, because you're still serving like you chose to do. And that's something I really, really resonates with me, is I'm so happy serving. I love to serve. I can't think of another job in the world that I could ever do that has not given me so much opportunity. I mean, I've traveled the world as a chef. But I'm able to serve people of all races and colors and ethnicities, and make a difference in their lives. And that means a lot to me. I mean, the fact of my service has gotten me on Food Network. It's given me an opportunity to show my skill sets, to represent my nonprofit, and give me an opportunity here soon to go cook for my brothers and sisters who are serving overseas now through my own piece through Food Network. So there is no bad decisions. It's always going to be learning experiences, and you need to figure out how you figure out how to serve again.
So this thing on Food Network, is that something that people can go and check out?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I did Guy's Grocery Games. It was the Salute to Heroes episode. And I got a chance to, and what I loved about it, it wasn't about how many restaurants I owned or how much money I was making. It was about my service. It was about my nonprofit and making a difference through the world through what I love to do. And it was an honor to be able to say that was the beginning of something beautiful, because now, the world has got to see who I am, learn about the nonprofit. That legacy has been instilled on a national platform. It means the world to me to know that there's a purpose in that people want to see happen, because now we're able to make a difference through a bigger means. I mean, if you would have told me 3 years ago when I founded this thing that I would be on Food Network representing it, and that this legacy would be in stone, I would have laughed at you. I didn't know my head from a hole in the wall 3 years ago. I didn't know what a nonprofit was. I didn't know how to run one. And even running a business is still so much learning. I learn something new every day, which I think I expressed to you earlier. It's just like, man, pitch deck's this, and I got to do what now? Okay, great. Now I'm behind the ball over here, and I'm like, well, I did that. No, but I did it wrong. Okay, let me go back and do it again. But that's the process of evolution of who we are as people and thinkers, leaders. That's the glory of it. And hopefully, as things progress and we get through this whole debacle, there'll be another opportunity for me to get back on Food Network and continue to inspire our brothers and sisters.
Yeah, I would love to see that grow. Are you able to talk at all about what you just mentioned and going overseas?
Yeah. So I got picked up by an organization called the Mess Lords. And these gentlemen are a group of restaurateurs who travel the world, and they cook for the troops overseas. They'll go to Bahrain, they'll go to Naples, they'll go to aircraft carriers that are deployed. They'll go to, I think they were going to go to Djibouti, Africa. And so I got picked up for this tour that was going to happen in May, but obviously we had this COVID thing. Mm-hmm. Not to mention there was this whole thing. I think the tensions in the Middle East had risen at that time. Oh no, it's last September. It risen a little bit high, and no, it was this May. Sorry, and or September. I don't remember. But it got canceled because of tensions and COVID. But I'm the only veteran on the team now.
Wow.
So this is actually really cool, because these gentlemen are not veterans. They're just people who just love our country. They're chefs, they're barbecue artists, artisanal barbecue artisans, should I say. They're restaurateurs out of Alabama and Kansas and Oregon and New Mexico, and they're just great people. The organization is called Mess Lords. It is a
MESS.
LORDS. Yep.
LORDS.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Yeah,
So,
that's incredible.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that because I don't know, it's just there's a piece of me that I don't know it's going to get a chance to serve, even on a greater level. So, and then maybe hopefully inspire and be able to chat with some of these service members about, hey, what's next? Then hopefully lead them to a brighter light versus having to live in the darkness and then find a purpose to exist.
Sounds great. And what else, where else can we go to find out more about Reveille Meals or Vets to Success?
Yeah, both have websites, both have Instagram, Facebook. If you type in, Vets to Chef on Google, there's like 10 Google pages on what we've done, through the years. So that's been an amazing piece. Reveille Meals is a brand new concept. So just started that in February. And we're already experiencing growth. We're already experiencing new partnerships. And, it's really about the right people at the right time and, God's plan for you when it comes down to it. Don't wish things in a hurry, wish things in the right time.
And you say you got that off the ground in February?
Yeah.
So during a pandemic, like right at the start of our shutdown.
Pandemic. Yep.
Wow.
I said, I had to make a choice. I mean, these veterans who I employed out into the community through hospitality were losing jobs. I can't let them fall back. I can't leave a man or woman behind. And this is my duty through Reveille and the community's ability to help make that difference too.
Well, Bryan, I think that sums us up real nicely. Do you have anything else you'd want to mention?
No, I just want to say thank you to you, because these podcasts are really important, telling these stories because someone's going to listen and someone's going to get inspired or somebody's going to feel like they're not alone or the path they've gone down isn't so lonely after all and that they're not so different. Because I wish I would have heard things like this when I was out of the military at first, and maybe it would have inspired me a little bit differently. And gave me that get up and go or that will to work harder to find myself. So I'm, hats off to you for taking the time to do these things because it's important.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I mean, I'm not getting my hands as dirty as you are, by any means, but trying to
give back.
Trying to share that story, inspire others to, have a plan, as you said.
Yeah.
And not fall down a trap. That's my conversation with Bryan Jacobs. Go check out Vets to Success and Reveille Meals. I'll link in the show notes on lar.media to whatever I can find of Bryan on Guy's Grocery Games. So far, it's just a couple videos that aren't that great quality-wise, but I'll share what I can. Next week, Scott Tucker, founder of US Vet Wealth. His newest book is Veteran Wealth Secrets. Subscribe, rate the podcast, share with your friends and enemies. Thanks for joining me.